Now, as we do so many weeks here at the Daily Dose, we need to get to our Daily Dose top 5. Like we've been talking about today on the Dose, this week is our 7-year anniversary of doing the podcast. Now, maybe you have been listening clear back since the beginning. Maybe you have heard the evolution of the show. You have heard the different things that we have done. You just tune in every single week. Or maybe you've only listened for a year or two. Or maybe you're actually brand new to the Daily Dose. However long you have been listening to the Daily Dose Sports Podcast, you might be asking yourself, how long can this keep on going? I mean, we have already discussed this week pod fade and how so many podcasts start, but so many of those podcasts just stop releasing new episodes. So maybe you're asking yourself, well, how long do I keep listening to the Daily Dose? Well, today, on our 7th anniversary, we are counting down the top 5 reasons that you need to keep listening to the Daily Dose Sports Podcast. And trust me, we have some very, very good reasons that you need to keep tuning in. Like I said before, we are a smaller podcast. Hey, we don't have a huge budget. We don't go out and put up billboards or pay for expensive ads or even pay celebrities to promote our show. So when a celebrity does promote the Daily Dose on their own accord, it's even more valuable to us because it means that they are saying they believe in it and they actually want to help us. They believe in what it is that we are doing here at the Daily Dose. We are bringing a new and sometimes unique perspective to the sports world. So when Hollywood celebrity Jussie Smollett endorses the Daily Dose and he says it's the best sports podcast on the market, oh, you had better believe it. He has no reason to make things up, kids. If he says it's the best podcast that he has listened to, then you might just want to take him at his word for it and believe it. Jussie says, keep listening. And that comes in today at number 5. We move on to number 4. And right now in the sports world, we have a number of athletes, who see themselves as like ambassadors. They see themselves as like, they think modern day Muhammad Ali's. They claim to be on board with social and political issues. And even though they really just kind of check and see which way the wind is blowing before they declare their allegiance, they try to find the most popular themes, and then they act like they're martyrs for their cause. That's a really popular cause. And it isn't just their political or social posturing. I mean, sometimes these same athletes will go so far as to like fake injuries. They'll actually be rolling around on the competitive surface, acting like they're hurt, pretending to be hurt. We all know they're not. And the sports media just eats this stuff up. They love it. They interview them every chance they get. They put them on their social media platforms as often as they can. They literally just have their entire world surrounding these specific athletes. And the sports media world won't ever call these people out on their hypocrisies. They just shower them with praise and talk about how wonderful they are. But here at the Dose, we will. Now, are these NFL wide receivers being prima donnas and acting like spoiled brats? No. Are these European soccer players that go out and fake these injuries and act like when they barely got brushed, they have a broken leg and they roll all over the soccer field? No. See, you need to keep tuning into the Daily Dose each week because we will continue to call LeBron James out on all of his BS. Hey, we know that guy loves him some him. Here at the Dose, we're going to go ahead and say that sometimes he's sort of full of it, And that is going to come in this week at number 4. Next up at number 3, we talked earlier in the show about some of the guests that we have had appear on the Dose. From former professional athletes, to coaches, to collegiate greats, to cable company CEOs, even to other sports radio hosts. Well, we have also had fellow sports writers appear on the show. I mean, NFL writer Dylan Brooks has stopped by every once in a while, and young Jimmy stops by to talk baseball, and he is even a featured columnist on our Daily Dose Sports website. And sometimes these guests have insights that you just can't get anywhere else, so you need to keep tuning in to see what it is that they have to say. Plus, you never know when young Jimmy might stage a hostile takeover of the show and just try to run the thing himself. And imagine if you miss the show the week that actually happens, you might witness a live coup someday on the Daily Dose. So tuning in to see young Jimmy with his face all painted and wearing Viking horns, yeah, that's definitely a reason to keep checking out the Dose every week. And it comes in today at number 3. We move on to the number 2 reason that even though we have already been rolling along now for 7 years, you still need to keep tuning in to the Daily Dose. Like I said, Apple says there are over 2.5 million podcasts out there to choose from. So maybe you enjoy listening to true crime podcasts or different comedians podcasts or even political podcasts. We know there are plenty out there to choose from. I mean, maybe you listen to musical podcasts or money podcasts or even educational podcasts. But here's the thing to keep in mind. If you are tuning in for sports podcasts, we all know that 4-letter word company that controls so much of the sports media landscape. It's that company that tries to spin political commentary on every single thing. It's that company that even aired a high school football game this year between IMG Academy and Bishop Sycamore, the latter a literally fake made-up school. So, I mean, if you are listening to sports podcasts, you can either listen to the Daily Dose or you can tune into the nationwide leader in sports. Just know they aren't always the most honest and trustworthy. You got to be careful where you're getting your information from. Make sure you tune into the Dose because we're at least going to keep it real. And that comes in this week at number 2. So we reach the number 1 reason that you need to continue to listen to the Daily Dose each and every week. And we reach the most important reason of all. Because yes, here at the Dose, we try to bring some common sense, some rationale to the world of sports. And that is a sports world that honestly, it sorely needs it. Because sometimes people get too emotional. They get a little too crazy. They don't even make sense with what it is that they're saying. We also try to bring you some sports insight. We have now been covering sports for quite a while, whether it was as a player, as a referee, as a coach, and now being in the sports media world. Hopefully, you might even learn something every once in a while from the Daily Dose. And you know, we also try not to ever have a show that at least won't make you laugh at least once or twice. We try to bring some humor to sports because some people do take sports way too seriously. And these are all good reasons to continue to tune into the Daily Dose. But the most important reason that you need to keep listening to the Daily Dose Sports Podcast, I've got a little secret to let you in on. On the weeks you don't listen, we're actually making fun of you. Okay, YouTube, be sure that you go out and you check out the rest of the podcast. This week on the Dose, we have some things coming out in the sports news world that we want to discuss. But then, this week is our 7th anniversary of the Daily Dose, and we actually kind of tell the story of how the Daily Dose Sports Podcast got started. We look back at a number of memories from the past 7 years. So make sure you go out and you check out the rest of the podcast. I will leave a link here in the comments on YouTube for you. Hope y'all are doing well. I will see you all next Wednesday. Have a great week.